Why did Qatar become one of the wealthiest nations on Earth? The answer is straightforward. Gas reserves and an exceptionally small citizen population. Qatar's GDP per capita, PPP, exceeds $110,000, placing it among the highest in the world. Yet the number of citizens holding Qatari nationality is estimated at just around 400,000. Here's why that's decisive. This slide tells the whole story. Qatar's total population stands at roughly 3 million, but the vast majority are foreign workers. The benefits of oil and gas revenues flow to a remarkably small number of nationals. The same revenue, divided among fewer people, amplifies per capita wealth dramatically. A growing body of research shows that the ratio of resource rents to population size can drive per capita indicators to extraordinary levels, though institutional design and price volatility significantly shape the outcome. This is the combination of mathematical inevitability and deliberate political choice. And it's something we can understand. Look at the numbers. Trace the ratio of population to revenue. That's what reveals the true nature of Qatar's wealth. Today, the data makes that case. Qatar's rise to its current position begins with a geographical accident. Beneath the Qatar Peninsula lies one of the largest gas fields on the planet. Qatar calls it the North Field. Iran, which shares the border, calls it South Pars. They are the same vast geological structure. But gas alone doesn't generate wealth. It required investment in technology. From the 1990s, Qatar committed enormous capital to liquefied natural gas LNG production facilities. That bet paid off. Today, Qatar exports over 70 million tons of LNG annually. Alongside the United States and Australia, it controls roughly 20% of global LNG supply, a position at the very top of the market. But Qatar isn't stopping there. In 2024, Qatar Energy announced the North Field expansion, the largest LNG capacity expansion in history, targeting roughly 142 million tons per year by 2030, an increase of approximately 85%. Even as the world pursues decarbonization, Qatar has chosen to position natural gas as a, quote, transition energy source and pull further ahead of its rivals. Rather than reducing resource dependence, the strategy is to dominate the market with overwhelming market share. That is the path Qatar has chosen. Qatar's foreign policy looks, at first glance, riddled with contradictions. The United States maintains a critical Middle Eastern installation in Qatar. Al Udeid Air Base has served as a major hub for U.S. and coalition forces, hosting command and air operations functions that support CENTCOM's operations. For the United States, it is an indispensable foundation for operations across the Middle East. Yet simultaneously, Qatar maintains friendly relations with Iran. The two countries share the North Field and South Pars, the world's largest gas structure. Economic interdependence underpins the diplomatic relationship. You're probably thinking what I'm thinking. Isn't this a contradiction? But this is precisely the core of Qatar's strategy. Saudi Arabia is in direct opposition to Iran. Iran is in confrontation with the United States. Yet Qatar alone can engage both camps simultaneously. That uniqueness gives this small nation a diplomatic reach that far exceeds any superpowers. The US-Taliban negotiations, for example, took place in Doha, and the agreement was signed there in 2020. In recent Gaza developments as well, Qatar has been deeply involved in mediating ceasefire and hostage negotiations. This is irreplaceable value, forged by geopolitical positioning and decades of deliberate choices. In June 2017, Qatar found itself suddenly surrounded on all sides. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, and Bahrain simultaneously severed diplomatic relations with Qatar. Land borders were sealed. Air routes were cut. Sea lanes were blocked. The stated reason was Qatar's alleged support for terrorist organizations. It was the moment Qatar's vulnerabilities were exposed in full. This small nation depended on imports for much of its food supply. The moment the blockade hit, fears over food security surged. But here's where Qatar's diplomatic network proved its work. Turkey rapidly expanded its military base in Qatar and airlifted food and supplies. Iran opened its airspace to Qatari aviation. A maritime route via Oman was secured, the import network was rebuilt, and supply stabilized relatively quickly. The blockade lasted roughly 3.5 years. Qatar did not capitulate. In January 2021, the Al Ula Declaration normalized relations within the GCC. And here's the irony. The crisis ultimately strengthened Qatar's diplomatic independence. The 2022 FIFA World Cup. Estimates widely circulated put Qatar's total World Cup-related spending at around $220 billion. To understand what that number means, consider the comparison. Russia's 2018 tournament cost roughly $14 billion. Qatar reportedly spent more than 15 times that figure. And that estimated figure is roughly equivalent to Qatar's entire annual nominal GDP. It includes long-term infrastructure such as urban development and transportation, making it distinct from a simple tournament cost. Whatever the precise figure, there is no historical precedent for investment at this scale. What was actually built? 8 stadiums, the Doha Metro, a massive expansion of Hamad International Airport, and Lusail, a smart city built from nothing. City-scale infrastructure materialized in the desert within a matter of years. But this enormous undertaking casts a long shadow. Sustained international criticism emerged over labor rights violations and the harsh conditions faced by migrant workers. At the same time, Qatar, in cooperation with the ILO, advanced institutional reforms, including the introduction of a minimum wage and relaxation of job change restrictions. Qatar earned global visibility. The cost of that visibility and the merits of those reforms, that judgment is yours to make. The wealth has been secured. But will that wealth endure? Qatar's hydrocarbon sector, natural gas and oil, accounts for an extraordinarily high share of GDP, export revenue, and fiscal income. A sharp decline in international prices would deliver a direct blow to the Qatari economy. This is a structural vulnerability. Qatar recognizes that risk. Diversification is advancing through the Qatar Investment Authority, the QIA, Paris Saint-Germain, Barclays, Volkswagen. Qatar holds equity in global companies with assets under management estimated at over $500 billion. On the supply side, Qatar is also making a major bet. The North Field expansion targets production capacity of roughly 142 million tons per year by 2030. The strategy: position natural gas as the transition fuel and pull ahead of the competition. But a new uncertainty is emerging. In Europe and Asia, Qatar's primary export markets, decarbonization policies are beginning to collide with long-term LNG contracts. The question is whether importing nations can align decades-long purchase commitments with their climate targets. Every nation that builds its wealth on resources eventually faces this question. What comes after the wealth? Now let's bring today's analysis together. Here's the takeaway. First, the essence of Qatar's wealth is asymmetry of scale. The combination of one of the world's largest gas reserves and an estimated citizen population of just around 400,000 has propelled Qatar's GDP per capita into the top tier globally. Gas alone wasn't enough. What proved decisive was having an exceptionally small population to receive those returns. And now Qatar is pushing that advantage even further, with the largest LNG expansion in history, targeting approximately 142 million tons of capacity by 2030. Second, Qatar's diplomatic strategy is the weaponization of contradiction. Hosting a major U.S. military installation while maintaining warm ties with Iran. That seemingly contradictory posture is precisely what made Qatar the irreplaceable mediator in the Middle East. The 2020 Taliban agreement and recent Gaza negotiations alike, neither would have happened without Doha. Even under the crisis of the 2017 blockade, this diplomatic network sustained Qatar through roughly 3.5 years of pressure. Third, sustainability remains an unresolved question. Dependence on hydrocarbons carries structural vulnerability. Diversification is underway through the QIA's estimated $500 billion plus in assets. But a new uncertainty is growing as importing nations' decarbonization policies clash with long-term LNG contracts. Will Qatar dominate the market by scaling up production, or will demand itself contract? That question has no answer yet. What do you make of this? Is Qatar's strategy a universal model that other small nations can learn from? Or is it an unrepeatable accident of geography and history? And when the age of natural gas comes to an end, will Qatar find its next pillar in time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. On this channel, we analyze global events through the lens of geopolitics, economics, and history. The strategies small nations use to hold their own against superpowers, the mechanisms by which resources determine the fate of states, and the structural forces beneath the surface of the daily news, examined through data, not emotion. Subscribe and turn on notifications, and let the next analysis take your understanding of the world one step further. Until next time.